Okay. Let's ask some questions and then we'll pray and run group. Izzy.
Can someone stay sober without a recovery community, right?
I have definitely been unable to stay sober without a sober community. Even when I was like having fun and partying, everyone around me was having fun and drinking and drugging. And then when I was isolated, I was drugging nonstop. I feel like you've heard this over and over, but the opposite of addiction is connection. And I need to be surrounded by people that are walking a similar path and also sober. And something about being isolated and alone just does not make me feel good about being sober. Like, it makes me bored and it makes me want to get loaded. So it's really hard to stay sober when you're not connected with other people.
Especially when you're so isolated.
For sure.
When you're staying stuck to yourself and your brain runs wild.
Plays tricks on you.
Yeah.
For sure. Yasi.
What was the biggest thing you had to change to stay sober?
I had to change one thing, and that was everything. Honestly, everything. And it sounds really intimidating and like a tall order, but all I really ever thought about was myself and my feelings, and it was really important getting sober to be able to have a shift in perspective. So thinking about other people first, putting my daughter first, putting my family first, my health first, all that stuff is foreign to me. But I had to change pretty much everything to get sober, which is why it was so wonderful to do sober living and IOP. It's not a forever thing. It's not the only solution. The solution for me has been the 12 steps. But I needed accountability in the beginning. I needed involvement with other people that were brand new in sobriety. I needed to learn what I wanted to be like, what I didn't want to be like. And I think doing IOP and sober living had a big part to do in like jumpstarting my recovery and my sobriety. Talia.
What was your first service you ever did in recovery?
First service commitment, I did not volunteer for. It's at my home group, the Moore Park Noon, and they asked, they said, I've been doing the Zoom commitment for like a year. It's long overdue. We switch it. And someone in the rooms behind me just raised my hand for me. And I was like, oh no, I don't know technology. This is not a good commitment for me. But I was really sick. I was crying every meeting and I was traumatized. I just overdosed. I lost my daughter. And they were like, no, we need to keep you coming back. So even though I wasn't willing to take that service commitment, other people that had been sober longer than me knew I needed commitments to keep me coming back. And you know what? I got so much fulfillment out of it that I ended up having a commitment at that meeting every day of the week. When the things changed, I had birthdays, I had sponsorship, I had Zoom, I was secretary, I had a commitment every day of the week. Because really, a lot of times we don't feel like going to meetings. We program all day, we go home, we eat, we get comfortable, and we're like, really? Do I have to? But when you have a commitment and you tell people you'll be there to do it, you have an obligation to go. And never once have I been to a meeting and I was like, gosh, I wish I didn't go to that. My head always tells me, my alcoholism tells me, man, forget that meeting. You do a lot. You'll be okay without it. But I have commitments, so I go, and I always leave feeling energized and way better, than I did when I got there. Does.
How do you know when you're growing in your recovery, and how does that make you feel?
I remember reading, working on my 5th step with my sponsor, and us walking back from the coffee shop to the meeting and saying, so do I have to wait to step 12 to have this spiritual awakening? And he started laughing. He was like, girl, you're in it. You might not see it, but you're in the middle of a spiritual experience right now. And I'm like, but aren't I supposed to feel some kind of aha moment or something? But really what happens is you have a perception shift. That's when I feel like I knew I was growing in my recovery, when I stopped being so prone to violence and anger. And I started considering other people's perspectives. Even people that had wronged me, I would be like, yeah, but what are they going through, right? That's how my sponsor told me I was ready to start sponsoring people, because something happened with someone that I love and respect a lot, and I was flabbergasted. And so I called my sponsor and I was like, yeah, but he's not wrong to wonder that. Like, I have relapsed in the past. Like, it's not out of pocket for someone to ask me that question when, like, that's been the history, you know? I was taken back, you know? And he was like, wait, but hold on. Like, you're upset and all you're doing is talking about this person's perspective. They work in recovery. They do that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not all about you anymore. You're ready to sponsor. Like, you've had a fundamental shift in perspective. So when things aren't just all about you and the way you feel, which, let's be honest, we all did drugs and alcohol because we want to feel different or to quiet our feelings. Like, it's all about feeling. And when it's not just about you and your feelings anymore, I think it's safe to say you're growing. Okay, let's pray this prayer together. It's shorter than the set aside prayer because it's just for this group, right? We're not doing a book study. So let's say it together. God, take away everything I think I know so I can have a new experience with you. So I say this in my recovery, this time since my last relapse, I say it every day, all day long. I don't have this like crazy long prayer life where I'm doing like hours of prayer and meditation. I wake up in the morning, I say, God, take my will in my life, guide me in my recovery, show me how to live. That's a condensed version of the third step prayer. But then when I get out of my car for work and clients are coming in, or I'm going to pick up my daughter because she's preteen and it's going down, or I'm walking into a meeting, or I'm walking, like every time I'm getting out of my car, I'm saying, God, take away everything I think I know so I can have a new experience with you, because my whole life I thought I knew everything. You couldn't tell me anything, ever. I raised myself, I raised my dad's kids, I got this. I've got this. You know what I mean? I take care of my life and my business. So asking God to have a new experience with him is really important when we do group settings like this, because I don't know why it works. I don't know how God works, but I just know when you seek him and you ask him, you end up receiving. So it's been really helpful for me, especially when you're new and you're programming and you're fresh out of rehab. We're looking at differences. We're looking to not identify. We're looking for ways to not want to do AA, to not want to program, reasons why we don't need to be here. That's just part of being an addict or an alcoholic. So, okay, let's get into it. So, alcoholism is it, and when I say alcoholism, let's clarify, I haven't had a drink in 13 years. I'm a junkie, but I have alcoholism, right? So can anyone say what alcoholism is? What are the three things that we define as alcoholism in the doctor's opinion? It's okay if you don't know. Anybody? We have an allergy of the body. We have an abnormal reaction to drugs and alcohol. When we put one in, we have absolutely no idea what's going to go on. I mean, I did drugs once for 25 years. I had no idea it was going to start with that first joint and then end with fentanyl and methamphetamine and marijuana and GHB and like crazy stuff. You know, I had no idea that's how it was going to go for me. But I know that for a lot of us, like even if you weren't an everyday user or drinker, on the weekends, you start drinking and you wake up and you're like, where am I? And who are you? And like, where are my keys? And I don't have shoes. And like, how much money did I spend? That's an abnormal reaction to alcohol, because my father has a cocktail every night. You better believe he can relate to none of that. He's never so much as had a parking ticket. When we go out to eat, he has a half of a glass of something because he's not going to drive drunk. How many of us have driven drunk? How many of us have had DUIs or crashed cars? Probably under the influence, right? That's not all that normal, right? Like we have an abnormal reaction to drugs and alcohol. When I put one in, I don't know what's going on. And for some reason, whenever I have alcohol, I end up in a bag. Like I swear I wasn't going to do blow that night, but if I'm drunk, I'm going straight to the bag man. That's abnormal. My dad has a cocktail every night. He does not do drugs. He's not compelled, right? And then we have a mental obsession. That's the second part. We have a mind that lies to us in our own voice, and it tells us when we're not getting loaded, all we're thinking about is the next time we can get loaded, or it's telling us why this time it will be different, right? And then there's a spiritual malady. Malady is just a fancy word for sickness. So there's just something missing, something that sets us apart, whether it's grief, whether it's anger, whether it's uncomfortable in our own skin, whether it's a lack of ability to connect with our peers, fit in at school, just being different, being uncomfortable is how I identify it. A lot of people talk about this kind of hole or kind of emptiness that they've always felt. I think that came like a lot later for me in my addiction, as addiction got like more violent and more criminal and stuff like that. I think that whole came, but I didn't always feel like that. You know, for me, it was just like, I don't belong here. No, I can't relate to anyone here. I'm different. Okay, so those are the three components that make you an alcoholic or an addict. And when I say, I'm going to talk about alcoholism because I have the ism, but I am a junkie. So like, it's the same thing. I feel like saying I'm an alcoholic addict is like saying I'm from Long Beach. It's the exact same thing, right? And the big book talks about drugs as well. So alcoholism is a disease of the mind, body, and spirit. There are 3 parts of the program, 1 for each part of my disease. Who can name those parts? Unity.
Recovery.
Oh my gosh, yay! I should have brought candy to throw. It's okay. Okay, unity, service, recovery. So the unity is for what part? The mind, body, or the spirit? Because the disease is mind, body, and spirit.
Unity is body.
And so there's 3 parts of the triangle to treat the mind, body, and spirit. Casey said body. Okay, so what does that mean? Are you looking in your book? You got the cheat code. Look at you. Okay. The fellowship, this kind of reflects on some of the questions that were asked in the beginning of group, like how do you, can you stay sober without a fellowship or without other sober people? So in Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, they talk about the fellowship, meaning like when you're at a meeting, you're treating your body physically because you're not at a trap house doing crazy stuff, right? Or you're not isolated in your room drinking until you pass out, right? So that's what treats our body. But as far as when you're new, like part of that fellowship is getting out of rehab and going to IOP and sober living, right? Like that's a big part of it because in the beginning, you're not comfortable in meetings. It's better to go to meetings with your whole sober living and your program so you know other people there and can speak to them. You don't have a sponsor yet. You haven't worked any of the steps, and it's important to us. New people relate to each other and you build connection there. And it's not easy to go to treatment and then you go back to the same place that you did dope in or were drinking in that same room. Do you know how many people have done that over and over and wonder why they keep getting loaded? It's like, well, all you did was get loaded in that room. You can't just do 30 days in treatment and go home to the same people, places, and things in the same environment that you got high in the whole time and think you're going to stay sober. It's just not how it works.
That's what I never understood, like the people that come to a program and stay for like 30 days and they refuse to do IOP and they're like, I'll be sober for the rest of my life, and then
It's not how it works. Because rehab is what? For physical detox. It gets you physically off the drugs. So like your feet are on the floor and your mind kind of clears. You can sleep, you can eat, you can rest, stuff like that. I get it.
That was crazy. If I didn't go to IOP, I would have been screwed probably.
But think of like like on Sunday, we had a big pool party at the Vista House, at the Porter Ranch House. It wasn't a big pool party, rewind, but we had a pool party and it was fun and we ate and we laughed and there was water balloons and we had water guns. Like you need to be involved with until you get a fellowship in Alcoholics Anonymous, you need to go to sober living. You need to be in IOP so you can be around like-minded people and build that fellowship while you're waiting to get to like the actual recovery part, you know? What's up?
I have like that. I have issues with being social. I mean, is there anything that I can maybe teach myself, or somebody can give me small advice or something? Because I do not people. I just don't people, and it's very hard for me to speak to people. It's not I'm always like I'm not purposely closed off or sitting in a box somewhere. I just don't have that social, because I'm outspoken, I have no problem talking, but I can't be around people. It freaks me out.
Okay, so you start with small crowds. You go to smaller meetings and you start by simple things by just saying, hi, I'm Izzy. Like you see someone in the corner that's alone that looks uncomfortable. You can always spot a new person. You see that and you just say, hi, I'm Izzy. I'm glad you're here. Like you start very small, like baby steps. You can't just like throw yourself in some giant social situation and expect yourself to be totally comfortable.
Very easy when you were drunk.
Right.
Because it was always easier for me to speak out and jump all over the place. Excuse me. But it was always really easy when I was drunk to be able to talk to people. I was very outspoken and very social when I was drunk. But now it's like that rewiring is very, very strangely real. And it's been bothering me a little bit more lately, but I've been writing on my book about it, and I've been getting myself into different brainstormings on how I should be able to, work through that. That's what's been bothering me.
The only way to do it is to be comfortable being uncomfortable. It was one of the first things my sponsor told me is get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That's like the book my brother gave me. He gave me a book. He said, what was it? It's called Being Okay with Not Being Liked, or something like that. It's along those words.
Right.
So, and I've been reading that book too, like big time. So.
Yeah, you've just got to be uncomfortable. Everything is uncomfortable when you're new. But also as part of this body and the fellowship stuff, it's like something as simple as accountability, like having a nightly curfew when you get out of rehab, having to UA randomly, having these things sound annoying when you first, you're like, oh gosh, you know what I mean? I'm grown. I've been running the street. Really? You want me to breathalyze every night, pee in a cup, be home by 10 or 12 p.m.? Like, this is crazy. I'm not a child. But those things keep you right in the beginning. We need the structure. We need the accountability. I am grateful for my experience in sober living and IOP because it gave me the routine, the structure, and a certain fellowship until I had personal recovery, until I had that shift in perspective that the steps and that the growth and continued sobriety offers you. You know what I mean? So like a good way to build a fellowship before you're comfortable in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and you found what meetings work for you is through programming and sober living. You know what I mean? That's like where we're supposed to start reaching out and feeling comfortable and connecting.
Which that starts to become a norm.
Exactly. It does.
It's not forced habit. It becomes the habit instead of the other habit.
So what is recovery? What does that treat? Right. And how does it treat the mind? "12 steps. First 164 pages of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Essentially, it's the 12 steps. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. I feel like I've shared a lot of my experience about the 12 steps. I'm not going to get too into it because I don't want to seem like a lecturer, but we'll just do something really quick. So step 1, powerlessness. It introduces me to the problem immediately, right? Lack of power is my dilemma. If it was a matter of willpower and we could do this alone without a fellowship, without the steps, without the service, we wouldn't be here. None of us would be here. Alcoholics Anonymous wouldn't be here for 90 years, like working to save lives. An organization or a community of people that keeps growing every year. It's never gone down in size or down in the amount of countries or down in the amount of languages it's in. It's just something that is eternally growing and expanding. So step 1 is powerlessness. It tells us to the problem. And then instantly, step 2, I love this about the steps. It brings us right to the solution. A power greater than myself, which I will call God, right? This is all solution. Like, only step that they talk about drugs and alcohol is the first one. We are powerless. We need to find something. Like, this book and this process is designed to connect you to a power greater than yourself that will solve all your problems, because we're constantly saying, God, take away everything I think I know. Your best thinking got you here. Got you overdosed, got you homeless, got you in a trap house, got you in your car, got you wherever. You know what I'm saying? Like, our best thinking got us into some real heavy shit. And obviously we didn't like it, we weren't comfortable with it, or we wouldn't have gone to rehab and come here to program. So like powerlessness and then a power greater than myself, God is the solution, right? It brings us straight to solution. And that's step 2. And then step 3, does anyone know what step 3 is?
It's about your higher power.
Turning our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. So step 3, how do we do that? Step 3 is a decision.
Giving it to him, letting it go.
Is a decision. Okay, well, guess what? A decision is made valid with action. I always use this example. 3 frogs on a log. One makes a decision to jump. How many frogs are on the log? 3. He decided, he didn't jump. I think I'm gonna jump. You know what I did in my addiction? The last 2 years I was smoking Fetty, I would tell myself every night in the mirror, in the bathroom, girl, tomorrow you are gonna wake up, you are gonna go pee, and you're gonna start the Keurig, and then you're gonna hit the foil. I didn't even wanna get sober. I just wanted to go pee and start the coffee and then hit the foil. That's like 60 seconds. And do you know, for 2 years, I did not make it, not one day. And every night I made a decision. Tomorrow is the day. You're gonna pee, you're gonna start the Keurig. All you have to do is hit the button, and okay. It's not even like making a real pot of coffee. I mean, literally, we're talking 60 seconds. And then hit the foil. It wasn't like, okay, tomorrow you're gonna get sober. No, but every morning, my eyes open, my feet hit the floor, straight to the bathroom, close the door. I mean, within 60 seconds, I could not, and I had to urinate. But I had to do dope all day, every day. I made a decision every night for years. You're not gonna do that tomorrow. And every morning I was a slave to that fucking foil. So a decision is made valid with action. When you're new and you're just starting to build a relationship with a higher power, and let's be honest, building a relationship, step 2 says, came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. It doesn't mean you believe in God. You're coming to believe. Are you willing to believe it works for me? That's it. You could be mad at God, you could be resentful at God, but are you willing to take the action anyway? Are you willing to start a conversation with a God that you don't believe in? Or with a God that you're angry with? All that God cares about is that you take the action. You don't have to be right with God, because by the time you get to step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. So it's okay. Just start with that, right? So when you get to step 3 and you're making a decision to turn your will and your life over to God, you might not be right with God. How do you do that? I'll tell you how you do it. Clean your house. What does that mean? Nope, steps 4 through 9. So we do an inventory. We read it to someone. We become ready to have God take these character defects away from us. And we actually ask God to do that, and then we make a list, and then we make amends. There's something about this clean house project. In the beginning, you don't know what God's will is for you. It's very, I don't know about you guys, but my alcoholism talks to me in my own voice. The devil and God, like, it's not like some grimy gremlin that I hear that I can instantly go, oh, that's not a good choice, and like Morgan Freeman on this side. It's not what's going down in my head. In my head, really shady shit sounds like such a good idea. Before you've been through these steps, before you've had this spiritual awakening, I can't tell the real from the fake. I will get myself into some real hood shit in a hurry, thinking, oh, that's God. God wants this for me. Full on delusion. You know what I'm saying? So we get sponsors, we work the steps, we work a program, and it's like, and then we end up, as time has progressed and as I work the steps, I understand that, like, I feel like I understand that when it's my alcoholism and when it's like the God inside of me telling me what to do. So how do you guys think that IOP and sober living contribute in any way? Can you identify any ways that sober living and programming can contribute to the recovery portion of the triangle, to the mind? Because I just did AA steps. But what about how you guys are living right now in sober living and programming? How do you think that contributes?
Keeps you accountable.
For sure.
Responsible, and make sure you have to do certain things on certain days. And if you don't do them, essentially you get in trouble.
And there's required meetings.
Yeah.
Like you have to go to a few meetings a week, so it exposes you to the room and to the steps. And
Yeah, I don't get it how people do it without IOP and sober living, to be
Even like
completely
small
honest.
stuff too. You know, like making our bed
Yeah,
every day,
keeping our room clean. Yeah.
that's definitely part of it. And before we've had the like,
Also, too, like learning to live with other people again, because a lot of times when you're in your addiction, you're isolated. Even if you're surrounded by people, you're still genuinely isolated in your own brain and everything. And so, like, living with other people helps you get out of that.
for sure.
sober living with them.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Right. Does anyone else think anything about programming hasn't? You know, I feel like we learn good tools here while we're waiting to get a sponsor, while we're waiting to do the steps, while we're in early phases. There's a lot that we learn. Like we learn about post-acute withdrawal symptoms. Like I did not know what those were before I went to treatment. I had no idea. That's why AA does the coins at 30, 60, 90, 6 months, 9 months, and a year. That's why it's such a big deal, because you'll have, if you're an opiate addict, you'll have 60 days and be clean, and like your nose will be running and your eyes will be watery and you'll be sneezing and you're having using dreams. I had no idea. Like when I had 6 months and I had this horrible using dream, I woke up in a panic thinking, I got high last night. Like it took me like 10 minutes to realize, oh my, you're in your room. Like what? No, you didn't. But like knowing that it was coming was a big help for me, because if you don't know that's coming and you're having all these using dreams as you're approaching 6 months, it's like, does that mean I want to get high? Like it can kind of mess with us. But when we understand it's just the brain coming back, it's the brain healing, it's the disease, what they say is doing push-ups in the background as you're working on your recovery, you can expect this and you're not the only one going through it. It helps you kind of minimize like, okay, it's not that deep. This happens to a lot of us. It's normal. It's okay. It normalizes those crazy feelings. So like post-acute withdrawal symptoms, coping skills, like there's a lot of stuff that we learn in here until we get the recovery portion, because this doesn't come quickly. A lot of us, it's the educational variety. Like I didn't have a shift in perspective until I hit my 9th step.
Also, being able to like talk to a therapist and like having a doctor to help you with your medication.
Amen. Medication management, seeing a therapist every week, all of that stuff is so important, especially in early recovery. It's a necessary part of early recovery. It takes a while to get meds stabilized, to get the right medication. And when we're new, we're not used to taking care of ourselves. So like, yeah, let me see the doctor right here and have my meds delivered right here. Like all that stuff works, because let's be honest, if we were out there and brand new and back at mom's house or back in some whatever, it's like, oh, I'm out of my bupe. I guess I'll do dope today.
Even going to like a pharmacy and when you're new in recovery, not having a car or like having
It's a mission.
It's a mission. And
But the dope man delivers.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like IOP and this kind of structure and this kind of help is essential in the beginning for the recovery portion as well. So what about the service? Spirit. And how do we treat our spirit? Like, what do we do? What do they call it?
Commitments.
We'll say 12-step work. You know, there's a lot you can do before you're sponsoring, but yes, commitments is one of them. It's really important. It's one of the things that kept me coming to meetings and made me feel like I was a part of the meeting. When you take a commitment, other people start to talk to you more. Like you end up getting more involved in the rooms and with a strong fellowship. So commitments is one of them. Really, the basic tenet, I think, for treating our spirit and for the service work is like, if selfishness and self-centered were the root of all of my problems, then my sobriety and my recovery depends on constant thought of other people. So it might be, Izzy, like what we were talking about, like, how do I start to be more social? Like, you have no idea, someone coming into a meeting looking lost and like it's their first meeting and you saying, hi, how are you? Have you been here before? Like you could change, right? But you could change the trajectory of their whole life. There's this one girl who will remain anonymous. So I was at Radford at the Get Down and she comes in and it's a huge meeting. And she was like, oh no, I could see it in her eyes. And she went to turn around and leave. And I said, girl, hey, I've never seen you here. She's like, yeah, I don't really know if I'm an alcoholic, like, but you know, I'll just come back later. There are no seats. And I was like, oh, no. I got you, girl. And she has like over a year sober. Like she stayed for the meeting. I invited her to my home group on Monday, and she's thriving. She's well. But like that was just for me seeing the on her face of like, this is overwhelming, and me being like, no, come sit with me. I mean, she has a beautiful life. You know what I mean? And she was hurting in her addiction and making bad decisions and not showing up to work, and her work matters to her. It was hurting her spirit, you know? And so there are a lot of ways we can be of service before we're actually doing 12-step work. It's commitments, it's saying hi to people, it's when you're in programming and sober living, it's full of ways to get out of yourself. A lot of people are hurt in sober living. Or you're doing chores. Maybe you don't even really use that bathroom, but you're cleaning it. You can get a little resentful at that. You know what I mean? But it's like, no, we're being of service to the house. We're being useful. We're staying busy. Programming, you guys do things like erase the board, take the trash out. Like you get called to action in this, and it's a great way to practice being selfless and not being so selfish and self-centered when you're in IOP and programming. Are there any other ways that you guys can think of that help you be of service while you're in IOP and programming?